For a while, under the previous administration, the trans community, the TGNC, trans and gender non-conforming community, was under attack. Our civil rights were under attack. Our very existence was under attack. For so long, LGBT rights, everything that we have fought for, the trans identity has always been the backbone, and even I would dare to say the foundation, starting with in our most recent recollection in history, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera. It is said that, and believed that, they are the start of the queer revolution that transpired here in America. And had it not been for a trans woman throwing the first stone at Stonewall, we find that trans identities and stories are often erased. And so without having trans people in power, places that they can speak and speak truth to power, our identities and our stories can be easily manipulated and we can be easily forgotten of. I said all that to say, for many years, from 2016 up until now, we had to continue to fight and buckle down and make sure that we are here to stay, and that our identities will not be erased. Our history will be told by Black and brown bodies. Our narrative will be told by Black and brown bodies. And I feel that's important. With the passage of gender, we now have the rights here in New York. However, that's great and dandy, but I often say that we're not free until we're all free. And so to the rest of my brothers and sisters of trans experience across America are able to exist within a state, within their communities, without the fear of persecution, without discrimination. I feel we still have great work to do. So yes, we're free in New York and we can operate, but for how long is that going to last for? And so when you talk about things that concern me, that's something else that concerns me. So I want to continue to be an advocate. I want to encourage other people that are coming up in the ranks to advocate, be an advocate for yourself and continue to fight for our rights. Because we cannot rely on a system to protect us when the system wasn't built for us. And so we have to continue to fight and lend our voice for justice and equity and equality.
They're really just I feel like they're just kind of pulling from what they feel we experience. I don't see enough of the actual transgender people from the transgender experience coming out on these platforms and speaking. So it's I feel like they're walking a dangerous line when they do things like that, because it leaves room for a lot of misrepresentation, leaves room for not getting the right information out there. And it'd be nice to see them interview more people of the transgender experience, or let them have a platform instead of speaking for us.
With men and women of trans experience, do you feel that the representation in movies and TV shows and storylines and yada yada is it accurate, and does it do a service to the community for the everyday person?
Meanwhile, and I'm just going to reference Pose because I haven't really seen, I haven't personally watched anything else that had to do with the community to that extent. I felt while yes, it allowed people to see firsthand what it's like, and I always say I want more for the community as far as I'll say I want more for trans girls. I never really care for how trans girls are ever portrayed. I really don't really care for it. There's only a handful of trans women that I know that represent correctly, you know, like they exude and they just are phenomenal in what they do, whether they're actresses or, you know, interviewers, whatever. I like that. But when I see that people put it on film or like they have a script made, I just don't really care for how the girls are portrayed. It's not always about them being sick. It's not always about them, you know, being prostitutes. It's not always about them being sex symbols. It's not always about just their body. It's not always about, you know, just them being the outcast or excluded and just like, you know, not saying that Bush Queens and movies and things aren't portrayed as that as well, but I feel like trans, it just automatically goes there. I really don't care for that.
I'm happy to see things like that being promoted in movies and stuff like that, because it's helping to like normalize something that should be normal already. But it's like, take Umbrella Academy for example, how they went about that, I feel like was very like, oh, here it is real quick, rushed, like this is how it must be when people come out. It kind of feels like the same thing with like the news and people like that. Like it's written by people that aren't trans experienced, and like if you're gonna put it in, maybe talk to someone who is trans to see more of how you would go about it. Like, because it's like sometimes I feel like it's almost there, like they almost get it, but there's something so off that's like, nah.
For what we have been able to see thus far, I would say the representation and the depiction has been accurate. However, it's also been one-sided. I feel when it comes to entertainment, the industry, the money is in the drama, the money is in pulling on the emotions, and so we're often shown through a lens of being traumatized, stigmatized, and those are the stories that, you know, that sell tickets. People want to know about the woe is me story. And people often say, and when I say the woe is me is, you know, the come up, but oftentimes the way they depict it, you know, is more so heavy on the negative versus the positive. And you know, and what I like, the shift that's taking place now, that we have the ability to create our own stories and put it out to the masses. You know, who would have ever thought the World Wide Web would actually lend voice and give power to Black and brown creators such as ourselves, and that we'll be able to reach the masses and get our own stories out there. And so we still find, like with some of the big shows that we have, we're still being tokenized because we don't see a lot, but the ones that you do see, I'm happy that they have careers in entertainment and in positions of power. And but I also am rooting for the grassroots, the non-mainstream trans-identified individuals that's out there in media, that's out there on the main stage doing what they're doing. But like I said, I really like the fact that we're understanding and we're changing how we tell stories. And there's a movie that's about to come out that's really good. It's the Emmett Till movie, and it's going to be called Till. And I bring this up because I was like, ooh, it's really good, like I said, talking about the shift and how we narrate our stories. Until the producer or executive director, one of the two, they said, or the writer, excuse me, she said she's not showing no scenes of white people beating on Black people. She said we don't see enough of that. You can still tell your story without exploiting the pain, the trauma, the hurt. And so I say that to say we're starting to see a shift in that. We're starting to see trans bodies and trans stories that are no longer focusing on the drugs, the prostitution, the discrimination, the woe is me, the hopelessness. But we're actually seeing stories told in a way that still encourages people, that's not watered down, but speaks to more parts of the individuals than just the things that were sent to, you know, hold us down. Pride, we still see, we still have work to do there. And the responsibility for representation doesn't fall solely on cis gay men and women. I think that it's a collective, and if we want to be seen, if we want to be included, and if we want what we call equal representation, we need more trans-identified companies, entities, bodies, individuals to stand up and come together and put it out there. I think we are far past the time expecting other people to put us in places and in things. We have, like I said, the intelligence, the resources, the withal, and the community buy-in for things to be for us and by us. But do we want that? You know? And what I find that I think a lot of people want that, but people don't want to put in the work. Excuse me, not people don't want to put in the work. People find it hard to get into spaces to be able to do the work because we still have gatekeepers. And that's with any structure in all populations. You have gatekeepers, and sometimes the old guards, you know, they're particular to doing things one way because it works, and they feel that the way that things are going is for the greater good. But every once in a while, you need those rogue individuals that come and, you know, shake things up and let people know, no, we're here, and our time is now. We're going to be heard. We're going to uplift our voices, uplift our stories in the way that we see fit. That's going to bring healing to our communities, not re-traumatize, not victimize and blame. That's another thing too, you know, the blame game. Ooh, no. Let's, you know, talk about the victory, the successes, and you can still show you can still be authentic about life's ups and downs, but more so, like I said, share stories and experiences through a uplifting lens. So Pride, the drag queens are doing their things because they're part of the trans umbrella. They're under the trans umbrella. I'm like that. I'm seeing a lot of POC individuals, especially in the Capital District, headlining at these local bars and clubs. They're really doing their things. And I'm talking about new girls that's like just came on the scene, and the people of color, and they're collaborating with other people of color. That's something that I would say is unique for this area because, you know, I think it's awesome. So the drag queens got the pride. Even I'm not going to say drag queens because women of trans experience can be drag queens too, but I think the representation is coming around.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie Powell. I'm Assad Hemingway Powell mother, aka Chum Chum, Chanelica, all her names, Sid. So that's who I am. Sid was kind of like my superhero. She was loving, kind, and she stood up for her rights. That's one of the main things I loved about her. She would help anybody, and she loved school. She loved her nieces and nephews. She always talked to them about school. She loved her job. She loved the people at her job till they got on her nerve. They loved to talk about her, how she would click her nails when she meant business. She loved her mother. One of the things she liked, Mommy, when she graduated, she like, Mommy, just 2 more years and you're gonna be good. She was like family oriented, so that's like we all are. After she graduated, she was waiting for her degree to come in the mail. Then she was gonna send it off to different PA school, physician assistant school. She wanted to be a physician assistant. She was like, Mommy, I can make money quick so you don't have to work. And she was really looking forward to that. The school she was thinking about, what was in California, what was in Miami, Maryland, where she has a cousin down there that said, I'll go with you, Maryland and Atlanta. Miami and Atlanta, I was like, no, don't go there, you might party too much. So she was like, no, I wouldn't, Mommy, but you know, she just really wanted to have a good job to take care of her family, especially me and her nieces and nephews. Some days are better than others. As far as me, I got into therapy because I was hurting so bad. Me and Assad was awfully close, awfully close. I mean, we barely, not a day went by that we really didn't talk. Like she was really studying because she wanted to get a great grade and everything. Other than that, like I'm still hurting. My granddaughters are hurting. One of them have a little nightmare. But other than that, we focusing and trying to get the help that we need. And to keep her name alive, we started a foundation, the Asa Hemingway Powell Foundation Inc. So we give out little money here and there to help people out the community, stuff that she liked doing. It's a lot she did that I didn't even know she did. You know, like talk to the young people, the LBGQT plus community. So I was proud of that, to see that she was reaching back. I mean, when she passed, it was like 7 days of celebrating her life, from the day we found out to the day we laid her to rest. And I mean, so many people came out for her, from jobs, strangers, people that just met her at her job. The main thing they talk about was that smile. That smile light up the room for everybody, especially me. I think she's the only one that can match my smile. What people don't know, Asa is her father only child. So that's heartbroken. My husband, only child. And she just loved her father and he loved her. And everybody supported her, you know. And one of the things I'm gonna miss is her like, Mommy, I love you. Or she say, Mommy, you know who my best friend is? And I'll be like, who your best friend said? She'd be like, you are, Mommy. I miss that. Or her saying, Mommy, did you check your Cash App? I'd be like, no. She'd be like, you need to check your Cash App. And she'd be done send me like $50, $20, whatever. I mean, and then it's so funny to me because I could be like, Sid, could you send me some money? She'll be like, broke Keisha. She was so funny, but she always sent it. And I love her, and I miss how she encouraged me to do things. I love making body scrubs, but I do it like for the family. And she was like, Mommy, you should really sell this, because you know she liked using it. And then she did like her own little infomercial, and she was like, let me tell you about this amazing woman. And she was just talking about me. I mean, like, Sid was my best friend. She was my best friend. That was my best friend. I just miss her. I miss her. And I know my granddaughters miss her because she always did TikTok with them. They got good grades. She'll take them out to the mall or whatever they wanted to do. Like, one of my granddaughters loved getting her nails done. So she'll take her out to get her nails done and talk to them about school, talk to them about boys and girls, and you know, it's okay to be yourself, you know. And I love that, and that's what I miss the most about her and her family. I think that's what we all miss. Her father's side, just, oh my God, I'm so glad that that side of her family was her family, because they've been there and they still there. Like they're not gonna let me or my other kids down. Like, we're still a part of the family. So I miss that.
I don't really understand it. I don't like it. I know a lot of times, dudes who deal with trans women, they often have mixed feelings, and that's fine. But you wanna know what? Not everybody can handle those mixed feelings. But I do know that a lot of times with those situations is that, let's say for example, you know, a lot of men like to fantasize about trans women. And so, and a lot of men do that with me because of the content that I post and all that good stuff. But so let's say we actually meet up and then we engage in activity. Certain people can't handle the thoughts afterwards. Like, for real. Like, some men really have homophobic friends that, like, let's say they are around their boys and they see a gay boy walk by, random gay boy, and they start roasting them, just talking mad shit, just degrading them. Gay boy don't know that's what's going on, but that's what's going on, and he's sitting with his friends. He's probably not saying anything, or probably just kind of like, but in his head, he's like, I'm that gay boy. And that doesn't sit well with some men. So then they revert back and become violent to their spouses, their wives, their girlfriends, start beating up on them, or start attacking, trans women. And that has happened, and it happens all the time. That's why a lot of girls get popped off, because and then social media will write it off as, oh, they were found in the alley, probably prostituting, probably got what she deserved, and that write-off has happened so many times. That's why a lot of trans murders are not heavily investigated. Thank God that there was justice found for Sid, honestly, because for a second there, I didn't think that they were going to. So it has made me feel uncomfortable, especially in Albany right now. There's a lot of violence, a lot of killing, just so much killing out here, and it just makes me scared, to actually be comfortable. But I can't live my life in fear. I still, hang out with my select few friends and stuff like that, but it definitely has made me very uncomfortable.
For 5 years of my life, I strictly dedicated my time and passion to advocacy, and a large part of that was focusing on and bringing awareness to the violence that trans bodies, especially Black trans bodies, experience due to transphobia, racism, and the lack of this human decency. Over the last 6 to 7 years, we have seen an increase in violence across America against our trans sisters. And I remember one year, I think it was 2018, we had 3 deaths in New York, and we was like, oh wow, that was a lot. And I often wondered, what it would be like if that came to our community. And unfortunately, this year, our community, Albany is now on the map of having someone taken from us a part of the trans community, which is our sister Sid. Sid was a beautiful, 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 beautiful soul. And violence doesn't discriminate. Violence doesn't care who you are. And so her loss is very unfortunate. Her loss is something that has affected all of us as a community. But how has it affected us as a trans community? I think it affects each individual differently. If you knew Sid, you know that Sid, she was a go-getter. Sid was loving. Sid was outgoing. Sid, when she walked into a room, she was very confident and sure of herself. And she had a good head on her shoulders. She wasn't your typical or stereotypical, she wasn't your stereotypical woman of trans experience. She was educated. She had a family that loved her, very involved with her family. Her family loved her and supported her. So did her community. And she loved her community and she loved her family back. And so to lose her due to an act of violence, it was like, huh? And I think the community is still very much so numb, because remember when I was talking about the stories? There's no drama in it. She wasn't a woe is me girl. So, there's no excitement around, ooh, was it this, was it that? No. We know what happened, or some of us know what happened, and we know the life that she lived, and it was unfortunate. That was something no one should die, but that wasn't supposed to happen. So it's really heavy, and I think that we're still all healing. For me, I count a blessing every day I walk out my door and able to come back home safely. I'm happy to have a relationship, so I'm not out there having to be in a dating pool to meet men. We still live in a society that shame black men for loving black bodies. And I think that's the root of the violence that we see, the transphobia that we see, the eternalized racism, eternalized transphobia within our communities. You have to look a certain way. Remember when I talked about not having a big support system? Our community has become very cliquish, very superficial. So if you don't fit a certain image, you're going to be by yourself. And this is not to say that Sid didn't fit a certain image because she had her own lane. But I wonder what things have been different if, we had spaces that trans women can come together and celebrate together, love on one another, and that we didn't feel that we had to live in a silo, become our best version of ourselves by ourselves. And that's something that I can speak to. We have a lot of great, wonderful women of trans experience. The whole community, everyone is great and everyone is lovely, but we have some exceptional women that are going above and beyond what society expects them to do. But when you talk to them, you see a lot of them are by themselves. And so I would like to see more love amongst ourselves, and hopefully with the taking of life of Sid, it will wake people up and make people fall back in love with who they are and make something of themselves and really push them to become the better version of themselves so they can get out of this environment. Because I will say our environment plays a big role too. When we talk about violence, we often see it within our cisgender community, but it happens within the LGBT community. And shortly after the passing of Sid, we lost someone else within the community. And prior to that, we lost like 4 people within a year span from the end of 2021 into 2022 within our community due to violence. It's been 4. And so rather, like I said, they're all family. We're all part of the POC LGBT community. So my heart goes out to all the families of everyone that has lost their lives to violence, and I will continue to advocate and lend my voice to making sure that we are safe here in Albany and that we are seen and heard.